So today, guys, I took 6 trades on the NASDAQ futures. I wanted to talk about them. I actually had a perfect day, 6 for 6, but that's not what the video is about. The video is more going to be about how, even though I went 6 for 6, I kind of made some bad trades, all right? I want to talk about the difference between luck and actually making good setups and finding good setups and making good trades. As I'm journaling this now at the end of the day, which I think anybody that should be day trading and things like that should definitely be journaling or at least looking back at the trades, because originally when I made them, right, you close a trade, you're profitable, you think that's a great trade. But actually, in hindsight, when you go back, sometimes they were not the greatest decisions. Whether you forced them, whether you were over trading, revenge trading, whatever it is, sometimes you're going to get lucky, which is good, right? Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. But if we want to sustain this and we want to be doing this for a while, we really have to come up with a plan, and we really have to try and keep emotions out of this and stick to the plan. So let's dive right down into this, guys. This is Tradovate, and no links, no affiliates. It's just what I use to trade future contracts. On the left side, we see the NASDAQ, and the NASDAQ is pretty much what I'm trading primarily. I stick to one asset. I do have the ES over here, the S&P 500. I will use that as confirmation or just to see who's strong that day. Sometimes the S&P 500 leads, sometimes the NASDAQ leads. Really the only indicators I have on here are VWAP, and this is a 9 EMA. And I also use cumulative delta. I look at volume on the SPY, but I don't really use volume on the actual trades. It's more my volume profiles over here. Each one of these lines represents volume for that particular day at a particular price. So that's the volume that I'm looking at. I'm not really looking that much at volume per time frame. This is the 3-minute chart. I trade on the 3-minute chart and I trade on the 5-minute chart. And that's just kind of what I'm comfortable with, the action that I feel comfortable with. I use them both as confirmation. I also have the 15-minute up here. I have a 22 range up here, and I also have the daily chart that I'll use just to set up my levels for the day. You can see down at the bottom, cumulative profit, $108. That doesn't really mean that much, but what really does mean something to me, it may be percentages or points. This is 50 points of profit on the day, which I am very, very happy at. And like I said, this is a really, really good day for me. This is a $1,000 account pretty much. So that's a really, really, really good day for me. Here's the first trade that I took last night. I took this at 10:18. If you don't know, futures trade 23 hours a day, pretty much 6 days a week. And this first one was a little bit of got lucky. This was a trade I should not be taking. To be honest, guys, I probably shouldn't be trading the night session at all. But sometimes when I'm bored, like I said, sometimes we get our emotions. This was an emotional trade that just happened to go right for me. I know what my framework was and I know what my thinking was, but this, you could see, I chased a little bit, okay? This is an example of chasing a trade. It pretty much consolidated up here on the 3-minute chart, and then we kind of had a break to the downside, and once it broke below VWAP, that would have been the time to enter. And we see it, that would have been an amazing entry. But what I watched, because I started watching up here, I started going up, started going down, and then I just saw all this cumulative delta, all of this selling down here, and I thought to myself, ooh, I want a piece of this downward action, which is okay. I had a little point of interest that was drawn down here from some lows that happened a couple days ago or even a day ago. But what I really saw, and I guess the real reason I got into this trade, so I saw the heavy downward pressure. This was catching a falling knife. I should have been punished for this, but in the overnight session, everything's moving really, really slowly. So this was pretty much took the entire 3 minutes to happen. So there's that. In the overnight session, although things can go bad quickly, they don't go bad that quickly. That was probably the first wrong piece of information I tried to tell myself. The next thing I said to myself was, we had a nice sell-off here, and then we pretty much had a flat cumulative delta. If you don't know what that means, it's pretty much the ratio or the relationship between how many buys there was and how many sells there were. So we had this little bit of consolidation here, and I thought to myself, all right, it's either going to go one of two ways, which I guess are the two options. It's either going to retrace this candle and come back up towards the 9 EMA, which would be a great entry up around here, or we're going to continue to see this and I'm going to try and catch the falling knife. This was pretty much almost a zero drawdown trade for me. When I entered the trade, it did come up about a point or two, but then it immediately came down, and this was just a 10-point scalp. I was really targeting down here at the 1,850 range, but what happened was we had downward pressure, and we had a bounce, and as soon as it got to here, it snapped right back. It went from here right to here. And that spooked me out a little bit. Another thing that spooked me out a little bit, whenever I see a candle that pretty much starts down, there's no upper wick, it usually always retraces that. So I finally got snapped back into reality. I said to myself, it snapped right here. This really didn't have an upward wick. I better get the hell out of here and just take my scalp and be lucky and glad that I got out of this alive. I did have a stop. If it would have went up to the 9 EMA, but I was trying to get about 15 points here for about 30 points to the downside. That was my framework, my thinking. But like I said, once I saw this snap back up, and once I realized, yeah, there really wasn't a wick here, pretty much the candle open and it flushed to the downside, that generally shows retracement for me back up. And like I said, I had to get out of that. This was a lucky trade. 10 points, about $20. Then I went to bed. The overnight session pretty much happened as it would happen. The market opened and we came down into these demand zones that I have drawn before. I love using supply and demand. It just worked really, really well for me, as well as using other points of interest and things like that. Here's where the market opened. All right. And in the market open, there's a lot of volatility early in the day. And I've tried to be patient, like waiting, on the beginning of the day. But what we saw here was the beginning of a nice little flag. And essentially what I saw is we came down here and touched and bounced off VWAP. We came down again and touched and came off VWAP. And then it came up again and the candle opened. And I said, all right, we're at VWAP. We are at the 9 EMA coming up. And I figured I could at least get a scalp up to the top of this trend. All right, I wasn't looking for the flag breakout, because if then I would have had to wait a little bit longer. But I said, this can be a really, really tight stop for me. The problem with that other trade, as I just mentioned, was my risk to reward. If I go back here, right, this trade would not have been invalidated until really it came above the 9 EMA. So there was all of this float that I could have been wrong. So that was a bad entry for me. This was a much better entry. I pretty much said to myself, I'm going to enter and hope this is a triple bottom and try and get another VWAP bounce and get a quick scalp. And essentially, I had a really tight stop pretty much right below VWAP. If this would have continued down and broke that 9 EMA and broke that VWAP, I was really only risking from like 59 down to 53. A 6-point trade to get about 12 points up to that trend line. That was a good plan, a good setup, a good entry, and a really, really good exit. It really did make that flag breakout that you expect, but I was very, very happy with this trade. So pretty much one crappy trade, one good trade. This right here, another flag. I love flags. It's just something that I recognize, something that I'm comfortable with. We saw this and it was coming back down and retracing back to the 9 EMA. This was another thing, guys. It's all about where is my trade going to be invalidated? And this is something that's really helped me a lot, because when I was leaving that high float up to, an exit, and I was saying, wow, it's not invalid, but I was down 10, 20 points. This was once again a situation where I saw it start to break out. All right. And I knew that this trade would be invalid, this breakout would be invalid if we broke below the lows right here. So pretty much what I was entering here, knowing that my stop would be right below here, and I missed it. I did have my stop in place. I think I missed it by a tick. My stop right here, we could see it came down. I thought I was going to be out of that trade. It bounced right back up. Pretty nice. And once it bounced back up, I got to my point of interest. At this time, this was these lines right here that you see in green, yellow, and red. Those are value areas. At this time, the value area was a little bit lower. They are dynamic throughout the day. And I pretty much, once my target was above that value area, once it broke the value area, another 10-point scalp. At this point, guys, I was up $60 or so on the day, and on a $1,000 account, that's really, really good. This is where I now began to overtrade. I now began to get emotional and say, oh man, I want more money. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling greedy. I should have closed my notebook, my laptop, and just walked away. This is 11 a.m. And for everyone in the Discord, I end at 11 a.m. pretty much every day. But today I had a little bit more free time, and I saw this strong movement. And what I thought we were going to get again was a breakout. And what I wanted to play right here, and you could tell I'm getting greedy. This was for 2 contracts. So not only am I now over trading, but I sized up. What a freaking idiot. And I was pretty much saying that we might get another flag breakout this way, but I was also playing that VWAP bounce. It came up, hit VWAP on its way back down. I entered, and then I took a fair amount of drawdown. If I'm being honest and looking back in this hindsight, and this is something I put in my notes, I should have stopped out once this broke the 90 EMA. I should have been out of this trade, and I was at risk of pretty much giving back all of the $60. I think my drawdown here was probably close to $70 with the 2 contracts. I got lucky. Guys, if you take $1,000, $2,000 worth of drawdown and then it reverses in your favor and you profit $1,000, that's not a good trade in my opinion. This is a bad trade. Even though I profited on the 2 contracts, I should have stopped out pretty much right here, right at this volume, pretty much right at 11,900. I should have been out of this trade, but I stayed in. I got lucky, and luckily I got out of this trade alive, and I was able to get myself up to, I think, $72 on the day. Pretty much had to teach the rest of the day because I do have a W-2 job. Here's the last trade of the day. I like the setup on this one, and I like the trade that I took here. I knew this was going to be a scalp. This was right at the end of the day, I think literally 3:48. So 10 minutes until the regular markets closed. We had a nice little pump through power hour, kind of topped off. We could see cumulative delta was hanging out pretty flat. So a little bit of sellers coming through, a little bit of sellers through. Once again, I said to myself, if we break below the 9 EMA, I'm going to see if this selling pressure continues. I'll try and take a scalp down to this level here, right? This little swing low here with my stop right above, probably about this high. I was going to take the stop at 29, and I was hoping that it could come down to 989. We got that downward pressure, and I took the 10-point scalp, which gave me $100 on the day. I was happy with this trade. But guys, this trade probably shouldn't have been taken either, but I wanted the $100. There's where emotion comes in. This trade here with the 2 contracts, idiot. I should have got smacked on that. I'm really gonna, I'm still mad at myself. Even when you have good days, sometimes you make crappy trades, and I really got to be avoiding the night session. But other than that, guys, I hope you learned something. Watch out for emotion, over trading. When you're done for the day, you're done for the day, and that's really it. And really focus on your entries. Where is that entry in relation to where your stop's going to be, and make sure that you're getting a good profit target to stop loss, a good ratio there, so that you don't have to take a ton of drawdown and your trade still is not invalidated. All right, guys, I hope you like this day trading content. I never really put day trading content on the channel. If you do like it, get down in the comments. Let me know that you want to start seeing that, as well as the dividend content I make, as well as the real strategy. Trying to do a bunch of different investing things and show you guys everything I'm doing so I can be fully transparent. I'll check you guys on the next video.